Today, the government of Libya announced the death of Muammar Gaddafi. This marks the end of a long and painful chapter for the people of Libya, who now have the opportunity to determine their own destiny in a new and democratic Libya.
This is the real reason why they killed Muammar Gaddafi, the man who refused to kneel to Western powers and dared to make Africa and his own people rich. They told you it was about human rights. That was a lie. And this is the true story that they buried with him. In 1969, as a 27-year-old, Gaddafi led a bloodless coup against King Idris, a Western-backed monarch who had allowed foreign companies to plunder Libya's resources. Gaddafi threw out American and British military bases. He nationalized the oil, meaning he took control of his country's oil from giants like BP and Exxon and put it in Libyans' hands, declaring that the wealth belonged to the people. By 2010, the United Nations ranked Libya the richest country in Africa, with higher living standards than Russia, Brazil, and even Saudi Arabia, and many may argue even the United States. How is that possible that Libya had a better living standard than the United States? Well, under Gaddafi, electricity was free for all. Loans had zero interest. Healthcare and education were completely free. And if you couldn't get the education that you wanted in Libya, they would pay for you to go internationally to get that education. And literacy soared from 25% to 80%. Newlyweds got $60,000 to start their life. And if you wanted to farm, the government gave you land, seeds, livestock, and a house, all at no cost. Gaddafi did what everyone said was impossible. He built a river in the desert, 4,000 kilometers of underground pipeline, longer than the Amazon and longer than the Nile, and called this river he was building the 8th wonder of the world. He promised his people, with this river, we will make the Sahara green, and no Libyan will ever go thirsty again. And for 20 years, he kept his promise. But Gaddafi had a dream even bigger than Libya. He looked at 14 African nations still paying colonial tax to France through the CFA franc. He looked at the petrodollar system, controlled by the United States, which forces global oil sales in US dollars to prop up American power. After all this, he decided that Africa would have its own gold-backed currency. Oil would be sold in dinars and not dollars. He quietly moved 143 tons of gold to a secret vault near the southern border. His launch for a gold-backed currency breaking free from the world bankers was in full effect. 5 months later, this email lands in Hillary Clinton's private inbox. French intelligence is in full panic. It says that Gaddafi's gold dinar would end French's domination over half of the continent. It lists the real reason for war. The number one reason being to stop this gold-backed currency. 2 weeks later, the bombs start falling. On the surface, NATO said that the bombing was a humanitarian intervention to protect civilians from Gaddafi's forces during the Arab Spring protests. It all started with the UN-approved no-fly zone, but quickly became a full effort to overthrow Gaddafi's government. We've never heard of the US meddling in any foreign countries trying to overthrow governments, have we? They fed the public lies, storming the media with claims of imminent genocide in Benghazi and mass rape fueled by Viagra. These claims were widely reported, but later debunked by organizations like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch as unsubstantiated propaganda used to justify NATO's intervention. Just 3 years earlier in 2008, Gaddafi warned every Arab president to their faces, saying, "You are all friends of America today, but one day, America will hang you the same way they hung Saddam." They all laughed. But in 2011, the laughter stopped.
شو سبب تدمير العراق وغزو العراق وقتل مليون عراقي؟ وخلاص أصدقائنا الأمريكان يجاوبونا على السؤال اللي حاير. بن لادن عراقي؟ ما هو عراقي. اللي ضربوا نيويورك عراقيين؟ ما هم عراقيين. اللي ضربوا البنتاغون عراقيين؟ ما هم عراقيين. في أسلحة دمار شامل عند العراق ما عندها. وحتى لو عند العراق أسلحة دمار شامل، باكستان عندها قنبلة ذرية، والهند عندها قنبلة ذرية، والصين وروسيا وبريطانيا وفرنسا وأمريكا، ما كله عندها قنابل ذرية، كله بيدمروها. كويس؟ تجي قوة أجنبية تحتل دولة عربية وتشنق رئيسها وإحنا نتفرج عليهم ونضحك. ليش ما يكون فيها تحقيق في مقتل صدام حسين؟ قيادة عربية بالكامل تقتل تشنق في المشانق وإحنا نتفرج. لماذا؟ ما ممكن الدور جاي عليكم كلكم. نعم. ليش امريكا قاتلت مع صدام حسين ضد الخميني؟ كان صديقها. تشيني كان صديق لصدام حسين، رامز سلدي كان وزير دفاع الامريكا لما كان يدمروا في العراق، صديق حميم لصدام حسين، واخيرا باعوه وشنقوه. حتى انتم اصدقاء امريكا، نحن اصدقاء امريكا، بلاش نقول انتم، نحن اصدقاء امريكا كلنا قد توافق امريكا على شنقنا في يوم ما.
They didn't just kill Gaddafi, they killed the eighth wonder of the world. They deliberately bombed the facility that made pipes for his river twice. NATO's reason for bombing this facility? They claimed it was a military storage facility that was housing rocket launchers. The West justifying the bombing of a foreign country over weapons of destruction. Never heard that narrative before. The evidence for this, though, was flimsy, and it was later called a war crime by critics. 14 years later, the river is broken, and Libya sells human slaves on the open market. As of 2025, Libya remains completely unstable, with humanitarian crises and no return to pre-2011 prosperity. So it begs the question, was Western intervention a good thing for Libya? Or was Libya better off under Gaddafi's leadership? You may also be wondering, if Gaddafi was such a good guy, why would he stay in leadership when he was being protested? Well, Gaddafi actually offered to step down from leadership, but the West didn't want that, because that would give them no justification to meddle with Libya's affairs.
I hand-carried the letter back from Gaddafi offering to resign. The U.S. didn't want him to resign. They wanted to... Why? Because Gaddafi, and I met him 3 times. I took Biden on my second trip to Libya, by the way. He went with me when I spoke to the whole country. And every meeting I had with Gaddafi, he wanted 2 things. He wanted to unite the African continent into a group of nations economically, like the European economy. He wanted to base it on the gold standard. And the U.S. and Europe didn't want that. And the other thing is they wanted control of his oil, and they wanted control of his sovereign wealth. So Gaddafi had to go. That's outrageous, and it's wrong.
You see, Gaddafi's vision for Libya was so much bigger than just his leadership. It was a free people, and because of the Western propaganda, Gaddafi was killed. On the last night of his life, after NATO bombed his convoy, Gaddafi recorded a 30-second message for his daughters and his people. And in his final message, he did not beg for his life. Instead, he said, "If I am martyred tonight, do not weep for me. All I was trying to do was free my people."
استشهد في هذه العملية فلا تحزن ما تبكي أنني استشهد في معركة واجه فيها 40 دولة ظالمة لمدة 40 عام ذلك لأن الحر ودعم الشعوب في معارك التحرر ووطن السلام عندما يكون السلام مبني على العدل محرر ليبيا بين الجماهيرية صار عصر الجماهير من استشهد الليلة فهو دفاع عن كل هذه القيم العظيمة عن نساء سرد عن نساء ليبيا عن نساء أفريقيا عن نساء العرب عن الإسلام.
Beyond all of this, he even called out the hypocrisies of 9/11, and he even talked about JFK's assassination being due to the fact that he was probing into a certain country's nuclear program. I'll let you guess which country that is.
كندي الذي قرر أن يفتش مفاعل ديمونة وأصر على تفتيش ليتأكد من أنه يصنع أسلحة ذرية وإلا لا، ورفض الإسرائيليون، وأخيرا أصر هو على التفتيش. كان المخرج من هذه الأزمة هو استقالة بن غوريون، استقال حتى لا يوافق على تفتيش مفاعل ديمونة، وأعطى الضوء الأخضر بقتل كندي، وهكذا قتل كندي بسبب مفاعل ديمونة وإصراره على تفتيشه. بسبب إصراره على تفتيشه قتل كندي.
We want to know who killed Kennedy. Jack Ruby, an Israeli, killed Lee Harvey, who killed Kennedy. Why did this Israeli kill the killer of Kennedy? Jack Ruby, the killer of Kennedy, died ambiguously and mysteriously before the trial. We have to open the files. We know when we read it that Kennedy wanted to investigate the files of the...
So why would Hillary Clinton in the West want Gaddafi to fall? And why would they start all of this news media propaganda against him? Well, because Gaddafi represented everything that the West is not. He wanted a flourishing people. He wanted currency to be backed by gold so that there's no hyperinflation. He wanted his people to be rich. He wanted his people to be free. The West does not want interest-free loans. They don't want free healthcare. They don't want chemical-free food. They want control. They want hyperinflation. They want to increase the wealth gap. These are the values of the people we have in power right now. And if you can't see that, then it's time to wake up. There is no left versus right. There is demons in power against the common man. And if you want to do something about it, then join us here at the American Congress Party as we fight to bring free education, free healthcare, and free chemical-free food to the people of the United States. We want to see the United States thriving again. We want Americans to be truly rich again, not rich by debt, but rich by freedom, rich by resources. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and consider sharing it with a friend. My name is Brandon, and I'm proud to represent the American Congress Party. Thank you for watching.